Hey there everyone, this will be just a short vid as I work towards the next guide video. I hope to do more of these in the future, but I thought I'd share some cool Leroy tech someone just showed me. Now I will admit that it's possible that this was in Tekken 7 and I just didn't know it, but it seems like they might have made the recovery on Leroy's parry better. Because of the nature of his parry, there have always been some oddball situations, but he now seems to have an answer to jailing strings that other characters don't. Since we just did the Azucena guide not long ago, I'll start with her as an example. Her down forward 1-4 jails, which simply means that if you block the first hit, you are forced to block the second hit. There are a lot of strings in Tekken that jail, but what makes her down forward 1-4 so powerful is that the second hit is high, and those types of strings are typically duckable since that is a fair risk for their power. Since Azu's cannot be ducked, it adds to its power and makes it better than most strings of its type. With Leroy though, he is able to parry the first hit and recover in time to duck the second hit. Now what makes this strange compared to Tekken 7 is that in 7 you would expect him to be stuck in the parry animation for longer so that he'd be forced to parry subsequent hits. He can still do that, but he now seems to be able to force himself into a duck earlier than you would expect. It is still dependent on how fast the second hit comes out, so sticking with Azu for a moment, he can't do this against her running 3-2, so obviously he can't do this against every single string. But there are a ton of these traditional moves that jail that he can get around like this. So for example, the classic Mishima 1-2-2 and 2-2, both of which are punishable on block anyway, he can do this instead and get a full launch. Nina's down forward 1-2, which is a classic harass move that is particularly annoying because it jails, you can do this and kill her for it. Similarly, this better recovery makes it a more viable option if you parry something that has a lot of whiff recovery. Asuka's forward 1 is an obvious example because it acts like a whiff when it gets parried, so it does the special longer whiff recovery. But Drag's running 2 is another good example. That one helps demonstrate that it's not just while standing 2 either. If you just wait a moment for the built-in counter window to expire, you can do down forward 2 1+2 as well. Circling back to Azu, you actually can still launch running 3-2 with parry if you use down forward 2 or down forward 3+4. So his parry is still a strong counter to that move. Being able to launch punish after a parry was in Tekken 7, but it didn't apply to nearly as many moves, which is again why it feels like this is a new, better recovery for Leroy in Tekken 8. Down forward 3+4 is very similar to the old back 3 he had in Tekken 7, by the way, when it used to launch. It's a safe high and there's no timing. You can just mash it out and not worry about getting the built-in counter. The trade-off is that it's not as fast as down forward 2, so it won't work in as many situations. So pretty neat little ninja buff for Leroy. Now I don't know how impactful this will be, at least against jailing strings, since that's pretty situational. Like, you can only utilize this if you know a specific jailing string is coming, and the timing for some of these is really tight, but it's probably a really good matchup thing to know, and they buffed a lot of strings from Tekken 7 by making them jail. So it's cool he has a unique answer to those. But for more common tools like the Dragunov running 2 example, drag players are going to use that move so often that this will have more of an impact in those sets. But that's it. I hope everyone learned something just as I did. Thanks for watching. Like I said, my hope is to share more of these little tech videos on the channel to keep content flowing in between the guide vids, so keep on the lookout for these. Otherwise, as always, big shout outs to our patrons. Love you guys and thanks for the support. But to everyone, stay safe and we'll see you next time.